the President of the Senate. Thank you all for being here and taking time. This is a reception, so I will be brief. We are here to connect tonight. We are here to compare notes. We are here to do business.
Joining us for day 2 of the NATO-Industry Forum. Allow me to extend a special warm welcome to our colleagues from the media who will be joining us for the opening 3 sessions this morning. For those who attended the official reception last night, we hope you enjoyed the Palace of the Parliament. It was a truly memorable evening, and thanks again to our phenomenal Romanian hosts. For me personally, it was a full circle moment. My first visit to the palace was over 20 years ago while serving with the United States Army in Europe after concluding training exercises at a much smaller Mihail Kogonicianu, or as we called it, MK Air Base, on the Black Sea with our then very new NATO ally. Bucharest has grown and changed, just as MK Air Base has evolved to one of the largest, strongest NATO bases across the alliance. Romania has been a steadfast ally since 2004. With that, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of Romania, Mr. Nicosia.
Secretary General, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be today at NATO-Industry Forum, an edition hosted by Romania and organized by the Allied Commandant for Transformation and Division for Industry of Defense Innovation and within the International Secretariat of NATO. First of all, I would like to wish welcome to Romania, to Bucharest, to all our guests this time and in any other occasion. The topic of the current edition, rearming NATO, innovate, accelerate, sustain, it's especially relevant considering the context of the latest period, which unfortunately obliges us to talk more and more about rearming. All the threats and challenges we are confronted in present, from the war in Ukraine up to the cyber threats and the hybrid war, all these remind us that peace and security are never guaranteed. That's why rearming is not a choice, it's just a need, a necessity. And it is not NATO's or Romania's choice, the choice of the other states of NATO, but a necessity. The role of the alliance is to protect the peace, and our responsibility is to deter any potential aggression and to be sure that our armed forces are capable and well trained to counteract the threats we are confronted with. There is a continuation of the illegal war of Russia against Ukraine at the borders of Romania. And for that, and for us, for the other allies in the eastern flank, and for NATO in general, the aggressiveness of Russia beyond Ukraine by recent intrusions of the Allied airspace and by diversifying the hybrid attacks is an additional evidence that we need to be prepared. We need to remain united and to have a position of force in a solid and credible posture. The commitment of the alliance and we trust that the NATO and also the others, the allies from the other banks of the Atlantic are committed to defend any inch of the alliance. We, the European alliance, need to assume responsibilities in defending the continent. That's why we need to consolidate the defense ministry, the national one and the transatlantic one. And connected to that, for our guests, so I have the invitation to inform you about the Romanian defense industry, which has a very strong tradition. It has been neglected lately during the last years, but there is an extraordinary potential. And we have companies having all the conditions or the utilities, so that in conditions of interesting management, they can be used for increasing the defense industry in Europe. In NATO summit in Hague, we made the decision to increase significant investments in defense in order to reach 5% out of the GDP up to 2035. Romania has 2.24 in 2025 and will spend this money and will maintain the ascending trend, which is directly correlated with the security threats. But this decision represents only the first step in order to reach our goal. We need to have money, and we need also to spend this money in order to produce military equipment. And also a key element for providing a credible deterrence and efficient defense is to work jointly to manufacture the equipment needed by the Allied armed forces, to collaborate between states, between governments and private media for the defense industry that favors innovation and capitalize on the emerging technologies, and to have together with our partners the interoperability of the systems that we are using. Another goal is to develop the military mobility on north-south axle, the eastern flank, as part of a coherent and integrated approach from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, so necessary in the current context of security, to consolidate the capabilities with double use, railways, ports at the Black Sea and Danube, and also other elements of critical infrastructure. This is the context in which events like NATO-Industry Forum get increased relevance due to the role of bringing together all the stakeholders involved in this process, NATO, the allied states and the industry, and to facilitate direct dialogue between the alliance and the industrial sector. Only working together will identify the best solutions for our common challenges. Before concluding, I would like to highlight an important aspect that we discussed about with Secretary General Mark Rutte yesterday. I thank him for his presence. Romania is prepared to assume strong role on the eastern flank. I thank you for your presence. Once again, welcome to Romania, and I wish you a fruitful summit.
President, thank you for that message of the extraordinary potential here today. Only through working together will we identify the best solutions, as you put it. Secretary General Mark Rutte took the helm at NATO just 13 months ago and has arguably led one of the fastest ramp-ups of allied defense spending and production, or as he has coined it, a quantum leap in our collective defense. His energy, optimism, and commitment are contagious. It is now my great pleasure to introduce His Excellency Mark Rutte, NATO's Secretary General.
Well, thank you for that very kind introduction. President Dan, dear Nicosia, ministers, excellencies, ambassadors present here, Admiral Van Jay, dear Pierre, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. And first, let me thank you, President Dan, and Romania for hosting us here in Bucharest, and for your lovely evening yesterday. And also a special thanks to Pierre and Tarja and your respective teams at Allied Command Transformation and NATO headquarters for co-organizing this forum. Thank you so much. And many thanks to all the industry executives for joining us. I'm really pleased to be here. This is such an impressive crowd. I think this is, Taya, one of the biggest events in the context of industry and NATO we have ever organized. So thank you all for being here. You, the business and industry executives in this room, are the industrial component of our deterrence and defense. And there simply is no strong defense without a strong defense industry. Sometimes it is that simple. Many of you were also in The Hague at the NATO summit and the NATO Summit Defense Industry Forum we organized in the context of the summit. I believe the whole summit in The Hague, including what we organized in the context of industry, was historic. It was successful, and we took important decisions to make NATO much stronger. And the President already mentioned a few of them. Because at that occasion, NATO leaders decided to invest 5% of GDP in defense by 2035. 5%. And we all know that's serious money. That's serious spending. But it is what we need to stay safe. As part of this, leaders agreed to buy more defense capabilities, including jets, tanks, ships, but also drones, ammunition, cyber, and space capabilities. We are now turning these decisions into action. And for this, we need you. The open dialogue between NATO and industry will be essential as we deliver on these commitments. We are making progress. You could even say we are making good progress. There's more cash on the table, and even more will flow. European allies and Canada are really stepping up, including Romania, indeed, which has plans to increase its core defense spending to 3.5% by 2030. But of course, cash alone can't provide security. We need the capabilities, we need the equipment, real firepower, and of course, the most advanced tech. Because the threats we face are real and lasting. Russia's unprovoked war against Ukraine is the most obvious example of the threat. But the danger posed by Russia will not end when this war does. For the foreseeable future, Russia will remain a destabilizing force in Europe and the world. And Russia is not alone in its efforts to undermine the global rules. As you know, it is working with China, with North Korea, with Iran and others. They are increasing their defense industrial collaboration to unprecedented levels. They are preparing for long-term confrontation. We cannot be naive. We must be prepared. President Roosevelt famously said that powerful enemies must be outfought and outproduced. And that was in 1942. And the same can be said today. We call it peace through strength. And NATO will do its part, and we need industry to do yours. I'm confident that together we have what it takes to outgun, outproduce and outsmart those that seek to harm or diminish us. To do this well, we should focus on three key drivers: quantity, creativity and cooperation. First, on quantity, we already have state-of-the-art systems, the best of the best. These give us an edge, and we will keep it sharp. But we need more, and we need it fast, and that means increasing production and shortening delivery times. We are already turning the tide on ammunition. Until recently, Russia was producing more ammunition than all NATO allies put together. But not anymore. Across the alliance, we are now opening dozens of new production lines and expanding existing ones. We are making more than we have done in decades. We need to build on this progress in other areas, from high-end air defense and low-cost drone interceptors. Here, quantity is key. And this brings me to the second driver, creativity. This is about the power of innovation. To stay safe in the future, we need to outsmart our adversaries, drawing on all our strength. There are creative minds in this room, I know, from large and established corporations to small startups. We need what you have to offer. And we live in free societies where your creativity can thrive. So bring your ideas, put your ingenuity to the test, and use NATO as your test bed. We have the Defence Innovation Accelerator for the North Atlantic, or DIANA, with a network of test centers and accelerator sites across NATO countries. We also have the NATO Innovation Fund, the world's first multi-sovereign venture capital fund. Through this fund, we invest in deep tech, dual-use technology startups that can support our defense, our resilience, and our security, so we can help develop the next generation of innovators. The third driver I want to talk about is cooperation. This is NATO's bread and butter. It's also the reason for this NATO-Industry Forum. Bringing together the ideas, the assets, the industry of 32 countries across Europe and North America is powerful. And there's even more we can do when we work with our partners, including the European Union, Ukraine, and countries in the Indo-Pacific region like Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and the Republic of Korea. We have so much to learn from each other. And by combining our efforts, we can produce more and increase innovation. It benefits us all. Dangerous times call for bold action. And this demands a degree of risk tolerance from all of us. As leaders take the political risk, industry is being asked to take some business risk. As you think of your shareholders, this may make you nervous. You are waiting for governments to sign long-term contracts, I know. And you're right. Sometimes governments need to do that. But I can tell you that when it comes to investing more in our defense, the political will is there. You heard the President, you know the decisions we took in The Hague. The political will is there, the money is there, the demand is there, and our security depends on it. So, as your business leaders, perhaps we can make a deal. On my end, I will continue to do all I can to urge governments to walk the talk and sign the contracts. And I promise we will do all we can from NATO to expedite procurement and keep supporting innovation. Tarja, Pierre, you are with me on this, I know. But in exchange, you need to be ready. Step up supply, expand existing production lines and open new ones. Don't let the fear of future surplus capacity keep you from meeting the real needs we face today. I have every confidence that what you produce will be purchased. There are great business opportunities for all of you and real benefits for us all. Because when industry steps up supply, the result is not only more security, also more economic growth and many more jobs. The defense dividend is real, and our mission couldn't be more worthy. So, let's work together to deliver a safer and more prosperous future for us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We heard it here. Quantity, creativity, and cooperation. Industry, use NATO as your testbed. So with that, it is now my great pleasure to introduce Admiral Pierre Vandier, Supreme Allied Commander Transformation. Admiral Vandier is leading the charge to make NATO a modern fighting force and redefining what that means, from integrating asymmetric solutions and new technologies into rapid planning and testing cycles to accelerating weapons procurement processes. and charging ahead with NATO's digital transformation at speed. He's doing a lot, and he continues to build new bridges with traditional defense industry as well as our new commercial partners. Admiral Van Dier, the floor is yours.
President Dan, Ministers, Secretary General, dear Tarja, Excellencies, Generals, ladies and gentlemen. Secretary General, thank you. Before I begin, allow me to salute President Dan and our Romanian hosts for their extraordinary hospitality. Makes this event possible. It was a great endeavor. It's a pleasure to have you all today for this forum that highlights the NATO members' commitment to have a strong and deterrent alliance. This is what we do today, a strategic message. Today I want to talk to you about the changing nature of warfare and what we, industry and NATO, can and must do about it. We need to be ready for tonight, but also for tomorrow. And that is a big challenge. That warfare evolves, it's not new. The leaders, military and civilian, sometimes fail to understand that what those changes might mean, that is not new. We can think about the millions of sleepwalkings into the war in the summer of 1914, when even if many were surely aware of advances in weapons, technology, in chemistry or automobiles or aircraft, they failed to connect the dots. Correctly understanding the changes in warfare is a very difficult challenge. War in Ukraine shows a lot, but shaping our future in consequence is all but simple. So change in warfare is not new, but the pace of change today is very new. Very different. After 1989, we look forward to the end of history and decades of peace dividends. NATO and industry got comfortable, maybe too comfortable, against technologically limited opponents, happy to live with long timelines, slow and complex processes, and limited numbers. Instead, today we have the return of might makes right, of nature red in tooth and claw, of predators, who are more than ready to throw the rules out of the windows, add that the widespread access to new technologies and new constantly updated weapons. When the gap between invention and widespread use is measured not in centuries, not in generations, but in months and weeks, threatening our technological edge. The acceleration of time is clear for all to see on the battlefield in Ukraine, where the lifespan of new tech and new tactics is shorter than ever before, due in great part to the flexibility of software-driven change. But since both sides enjoy that advantage, this acceleration is looping around ever faster. In the fields of Ukraine, you don't spend years designing, building, or fielding new weapons. You don't pull troops back to the front line, from the front line to train them in slow time on these new systems. Instead, it's like your phone updating while you sleep. Hey, prestos, suddenly you have new capabilities. What does it mean for all of us? If predictability is over, if the speed of change continues to accelerate, well, we need to move to a posture of continuous adaptation. We need to show we are able to scale up when necessary for mass with quick and affordable solutions, and simultaneously continue to developing the most advanced ones. We need to show that whatever is thrown at us, we can adapt at speed and hit back harder. That means understanding faster, of course. That means ensuring that we do so across all domains, especially space and cyber, as you said, Mr. Secretary General, where the effect of increased speed is felt more strongly. So, as you say, Mr. Secgen, industry is an essential part of NATO's deterrence. We must demonstrate we can out-innovate and do so faster than our adversaries. imposing strategic dilemmas, and forcing our opponents to constantly recalculate their odds by correctly developing our weapons systems. By demonstrating that our industrial and innovation environment is more reactive, more agile, and smarter. Every time one of you develops something our opponents have not seen before, every time one of you develops something cheaper, something that can be bought, hide, adapted, or adopted faster, you are making NATO's deterrence more credible. So how we do that? How we, ICT, help you to shape NATO's future? So I would say through a mix of things. The first ingredient of this cocktail relies on real field experiments, where we bring together industry, innovators, and the warfighters to understand what is around the corner. Because we must remain grounded in reality. It's the bottom-up approach. It's what we did with the Task Force 6, demonstrating that we can bring out a USV solution in matter of months with a limited budget. Remember that we had 70 platforms operated during 1 month during the summit. Keeping in mind that all requirements were open to all kinds of solutions. We want to apply that same logic, that same approach to other problem sets. It's what we do with DIBAX that works on NATO's digital backbone, on CWIX that connects the CIS of NATO members. It's what we are doing with the counter drones with LCIX. The second ingredient is bringing a rational science-based approach of the future. If you have the ref, as the kid says, think about Matt Damon in the movie The Martian. He calls for science the shit out of this. It's about bringing a rational approach to the flourishing new tech landscape and making it compatible with available resources and military missions and concepts. It's about taking advantage of the skills in industry and not-profit organizations' expertise in mission engineering. It's about how tech can contribute to accomplishing the mission. It's about using modeling and simulation, for instance. All of these ingredients are to shake as a cocktail to give life to the new tactics and new concepts that make 32 nations fight as one. It's what we do with multi-domain operations or with the cognitive warfare concept we are developing. It is also our efforts about NATO's digital transformation that aims to enable the scale use of connectivity and AI. So in conclusion, months ago, Mr. Secretary General, you outlined the path we can take together, based around quantity, creativity, and cooperation. You ended your remarks with a call to arms, and especially you call for us. So, yes, sir, we are with you, especially because faced with the magnitude and the speed of the challenges ahead, success can only be achieved by acting together at 32. Allies, NATO, and industry in the widest sense of the word. So let me end on that note. We hear you, Mr. Secretary General. We hear you, the nations. We hear you, the industry. You are big players, the large and the small, and so help us help you deal with this existential challenge. I thank you.
Sir, as you say, it's all about delivery, and you just delivered. You have moved us forward into a posture of constant adaptation. For those of us who have been supporting NATO for decades, I can truly attest to feeling this change. So thank you for your leadership. We will hold a moment in case any of our senior leaders have to depart.